Welcome everybody to the Creativity Corner for West Virginia Expanded School Mental Health. I'm Tiffany Pittman. This is Crystal Criswell with the Marshall University School Health Technical Assistance Center, and that's Garrett Kiefer from the Bureau for Behavioral Health. Summer, I will have you introduce yourself when you get ready to start. We do want to say that the Creativity Corner and all expanded school mental health grants are funded by the West Virginia DOHS Bureau for Behavioral Health. Welcome in, and Summer, start anytime you want. Like I said, we're recording and we'll post this after.
Alrighty. Hi guys, my name is Summer Bivins. I am with Summers County. In the school system there, I'm the ESMH coordinator. So what I have for you guys today is I love to do activities with my curriculums. So that's what I have for you guys today. All right. So one of the primary goals for me of these activities is to move beyond simple participation and create meaningful opportunities for our students. We want them to develop real life social, emotional communication, and problem solving skills. Through interactive and hands-on experiences, students are able to practice these skills in ways that feel engaging, supportive, and memorable, while also building their own confidence, strengthening their peer relationships, and increasing overall emotional awareness. I personally enjoy incorporating interactive activities because I myself am a hands-on learner myself. And I recognize that many students benefit from learning through activities, active participation, and experience. Hands-on activities also increase engagement, encourage collaboration, and create opportunities for students to practice important social, emotional, and communicational skills in a more meaningful and natural feeling way. I often look for ideas. I look for ideas and inspiration through platforms such as like Facebook and Pinterest. I am constantly scrolling through those. Anytime I see something, I always try to consider, how can I adapt this to fit student needs? What skill is being targeted? What is the goal of that group, the lesson, or that class? When we're having our needs assessments, when we're having our leadership meetings, when you're meeting with the principals, I know every single time I go to the school right before a group, I talk to the principal, I talk to the student's teacher. We have that back and forth, and they say, hey, Summer, this kid is doing this, or this student, I've noticed this. So that way I know, I'm like, okay, I know what to look for. I try to do that with all of my students. I try to tailor activities based on that individual student, the school environment, the time of the year, the type of class or skill that's being targeted. And this helps to make the activities more relevant, engaging, and developmentally appropriate while encouraging greater participation and connection from that student. I feel like having that school also involved with me, it helps, build my connection with that school. As long as the principal is talking to me and like, they understand that, again, I'm focused on my students, my tier 2 students, especially, like, okay. And again, we're working together. Me and I have one teacher at one school. We talk, we would talk all the time about one student in particular, and we have that back and forth. And I like that. The curriculums that I mostly use for my tier 2 classes are Bottom Life Skills and Skill Streaming. Those are my all-time 2 favorite, especially Skill Streaming. I can always find something relevant in Skill Streaming. Some of the activities that I've done team building with Legos and blocks, challenges, role-playing communication games, goal setting, vision boards, stress relief, sensory activities, things like that. We've done things about manners, conversation, practicing games, following direction, challenges, different things like that. Kids love to be involved. I know I did when I was a kid. I just wanted someone to talk to me, not just sit there and hand me a worksheet and tell me just do this. I wanted somebody to talk to me. I'm the type, when I take notes, then I retype my notes. And again, over and over again, I have to have that visual. So for me, that's how I think a lot of my kids are. The skills that we've addressed like listening, following directions, working with others, sharing, managing anger, self-control, decision-making, communication, respect for others. There's so many different ways that we address these skills. I had one where we did a listening activity, and this was back when TikTok, when the whole thing was we listen and we don't judge. And that was one of the things I incorporated that into my lesson for our listening activity. You know, we listen and we don't interrupt was how we phrased it. And the kids that whole all last school year, that's what they did before they would talk. They're like, we listen and we don't interrupt. And they used that through their class. They even taught their principal that. And she was like, Summer, where'd you get that from? I was like, TikTok. You know, so again, we can find I find inspiration through so many different things. And I'm always available. Like, give me something and I will figure out how to make it fit. Sorry. Activities that I've personally implemented with like life skills. I've done with communication skills. We've done charades, nonverbal communication, how to watch for different cues and things like that. For the high school kids, we did workplace role plays where I had with the communication, how we talk to people, different things like that. I was the employee, so I got to act like a huge kid. I got to act like how the kids act, and the kids were the employers. So I had different scenarios. They had their little part, and I had my part. And again, I did it with them because we had at a point at the one school I was at with my feedback from the principal. A lot of students in my classroom, they were having an issue with respect. So I just gave it back to them so that way they could see how their behaviors affect lifelong goals. Decision making. We did choices in a jar. Part of that was, and they were like silly choices, things like, would you rather have a pet tarantula or a pet snake? And I had the kids, okay, whoever raised their hand for a pet tarantula, then you have to argue your point, like kind of like a speech and debate, and convince me why that is your good choice, how you came to that decision. There was one we had where it was, would you rather give up your pet or give up your cell phone? And everyone in the class, except one student, everybody was like, I'd rather give up my cell phone than give up my pet. And I only had one kid that was like, I'll give up my pet first before I give up my phone. Okay, argue your point. Explain that to us. Because again, that's decision making. Talk us through it. You know, so for self-esteem, we did positive self-portraits. We had like a portrait that said like, I am. I wanted to speak life into those kids. You know, a lot of times these kids, they don't have anybody, you know, at home giving them that positive feedback. You know, so I wanted to incorporate that in our lessons when it came to the self-esteem part. You know, I speak life into my kids. I speak life into myself and others around me. I want to do that with my kids too. And I wanted them to take something visually home so that they can see that and they look at it every single day and they can see the positive things that I've said about them and that they said about themselves to help build up their confidence. Some of the skill streaming activities that I've done, saying with classroom survival skills, one of it was saying thank you. So we did a thank you poster to the principal. Offering to help an adult. We did a poster on that where I drew hands, the little kids' hands, and every single time that they did something, they had to interact with me and tell me when they did something to help an adult and how they did it, how they incorporated themselves in it. I had one kid who he couldn't think of one positive thing that he had ever done for an adult. And I sat with him and I was like, I said, okay. I said, well, remember, I had told him one time before that one of my dogs loves blueberries. And one time we were at school and he gave me a bunch of his blueberries and he was like, give these to your dog. My dog's name is Pablo. He was like, give these to Pablo, please. I said, that helped me because that helped give me a snack for my dog. I was like, so that's how you helped an adult. And he wrote that on his on his hand and he put it on the poster. And just to see the smile on his face. So again, we're interacting with these kids and giving them that positive feedback. Following directions, activities, we made cloud dough. I will never make that again in a big class. It was a mess everywhere. I had the kids, like we had our instructions, how to do it, and each kid helped me. They loved it. It was very messy. but they loved it. The janitor was not my friend after that, for a hot minute. But they did enjoy it, but they were able to follow directions. We've done sun catchers. And again, and I've done sun catchers based off of like the different holidays with the different colors and things like that. And kids will follow the directions. Friendship making skills, introducing yourself. One thing that I do, especially when it's a brand new class or a brand new group that I get, that's one of the first things I love to do. I will have them draw either on a poster or like construction paper, draw a picture of how they see themselves, and then write a few different things about themselves, like your favorite toy, your favorite food, your favorite pet. What do you want to be when you grow up? And then they introduce themselves to other people in the group, and then they introduce themselves to me. And I do the same activity. Anything that I ask my kids to do, I'm willing to do it myself. This teaches them to, again, introduce themselves. They're sharing. They're talking with each other. We've done sharing games or sharing activities to where they have to share materials with each other, taking turns, playing a game, playing different games that helps them also with like self-control too. You're not always going to win. And I tell them that. So if you're not the person winning, how would you talk to your teammate? How would you talk to the other person? And I give them those skills before we play the game. And I also tell, giving compliments. Oh my God, you played that game so well. Can you show me how you did it? So that way, again, you're teaching them to share, open up, and talk to them, to that other student. Dealing with feelings. A lot of it is always like with anger feelings and different things like that. We've made lava lamps. We've made calming jars. We did a comic book. I had a group of boys. They were like my calming tigers group, and I had the idea to make a comic book, and they did what is it, the Hulk? How does Hulk get back to Bruce Banner? So they're identifying their steps as to what made the Hulk angry, and they're the Hulk. They're drawing themselves, and steps to help them to calm down, and how they recognize it in themselves and recognize it in other people. What made that person angry? What triggered you? The boys love that activity. The girls, not so much, but the boys love that one. Being a good sport, dealing with losing, where students practice, they encouraging peers after a game. There was an activity that the students up here in Summers County, they did at one of the summer camps where they had to make a canoe or something from like boxes and stuff and everything. We know not everybody's going to win. Then they had to get in the boxes and like swim across or row across the pool. So I had the students make posters. Okay, so you might not be the one that won, but we got to cheer our people on. We have to cheer others on. So I said, what would you want someone to say to you if you were in that situation? Would you want someone booing you? They're like, well, no, of course not. Okay, well, put down what you would want someone to say to you. How would you encourage? And so that's what we did. Dealing with boredom, I would talk to the kids about different things like, when do you get bored? When do you find that you get bored? What works for you? And we would do different skills and different crafts, okay, based off of what the students identified. The overall goal for me, one of the primary goals of these activities is to help students practice their social and emotional skills in the way that feels safe, engaging, and relatable. Hands-on activities allow the students to learn to experience while building their confidence, their communication, the self-emotional regulation, problem-solving abilities, and positive relationships. And that's what we want for our kids. I know that's what I want for my kiddos. What I have observed is that students are often more engaged when participating in these activities, which also provides opportunities for us to build rapport, to better understand their personalities and their needs. And we observe their social, emotional, and communication skills in a more natural setting. It's not being forced. They're relaxed. I'm the type, I will get on the floor with my kiddos. Tiffany has pictures of me on the floor with my kiddos drawing, learning, and stuff like that, because again, that's how those kids learn. You are looking them in their eye. you're face to face with that kid. You don't seem intimidating. And they're able to open up and talk to you. The students are often more relaxed. They're engaged during these activities. It creates that comfortable environment for that relationship building and allows for more natural observation of their social, emotional, and communication skills. And it just means it's more meaningful to me. A student has something that they get to take home that you guys made together. And when they look at it, they're like, Miss Summer cares about me. I have somebody out there that actually, is interested in me. And that alone to me is building their confidence. And I have some pictures of a few of the things that I've done. We did some calming jars with one of my groups. We did sock rice bunnies. We did that with like helping with stress, following directions, and they had to share materials. I did not like this activity because it's hard for me to cut because of my nails. The thank you poster where I had them actually like write different things that the principal did for them. And they got to decorate it and things like that. It helps to teach manners, like again, saying thank you to somebody. I think that's a big thing. My kids, and I mean not my school kids, but my own kids, they say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, all of those things. Because to me, being respectful is important to me. Teaching manners to me is important. We did Christmas games. This was like working together, taking turns, sportsmanship. And again, this was for Christmas. We did pass the ornaments. We had teams going up against each other and stuff like that. And when one team won and the other one didn't, the other team, as soon as the other team was like, "Oh my God, you did so good. I hate that you didn't win, but and the other team saying, "Oh, well, it's okay. I'm gonna try again next time." I encourage that. I didn't encourage, like whenever I would see someone in someone's face like, "Oh my God, I won and you didn't." I was like, "No, we don't do that." Immediately correct that behavior because we're teaching good sportsmanship. Snowman emotions, where the students picked an emotion and they drew how others know how they are feeling. A lot of them picked happy faces, of course. But again, like draw on there, and some of them had like a little bubble where they could write a little conversation piece and different things like that. Helping hands. This is where I drew the little hands and they wrote the different things that they did to help an adult. So, end of it, any questions?
So I wanted to say Summer does not work for the school directly. She works for a provider that's contracted through the Board of Education, just like most of you who are in here. And I want to ask you, Summer, when is it you do activities? Is it during a preschool group? Like, I don't mean preschool, but before school group, and after school group, during the school day?
Both.
When do your activities happen?
Both. I will do. We have our group is during one of the groups is during lunch, and then I'll also do an I would do an after school group. So I do them during both. And there was at one point it was actually one whole classroom, which is where I did classroom survivals. It was, and one of the schools is a very small school. So it was their whole third grade. They were having issues with their behaviors, and it was identified the whole entire third grade class. So there was a section where I would for about, I think it's like 10 to 12 weeks, I went into that classroom and did something for each for each section of classroom survivals. And I would try to do an activity. Now, sometimes you can't do an activity, but I love role playing. And again, like I'm silly, I'm a huge kid myself. So having the kids role play, making up different things for the kids to do, they liked that too. They love the choices in a jar.
Could you tell me about the boat regatta?
The boat regatta was where that's where they did they made the boats out of, like I said, like cardboard and stuff like that. So when I found that they were doing that, and again, like each person, like you can either do it by yourself or you have a teammate that does it with you. Even the teachers participated. I did not, because I'm not doing that. So I thought that would be the perfect time to again promote, like to show encouragement to others. So I just got a bunch of little posters and stuff like that, and had the kids write different things on there, draw different things, and put like words of encouragement. And then when they got to the boat regatta, if you weren't the one in the boat, you had your poster and you were screaming, yelling, and cheering the other person on. And I was out there, had my poster, and I screamed and was cheering, every single person on, even the teachers and stuff like that. So, and I loved it so much because like when the kids got out, they saw like all the posters and they had these huge smile on their faces.
Do you have any questions or comments from the group? I see we've got a nice little group here. I know most of you. Summer, is there anything else you wanted to share? Or Crystal, did you have any questions, or Garrett?
For me.
I was just going to say, anytime if you need help with anything, please feel free to reach out. Tiffany will tell you, that is my thing. I love to do activities. I'm always looking like, how can we make this fit? And again, like I'll see something, different pages on Facebook, follow, and like know your curriculum, know your kids, know what skills that they need some fine tuning on. And don't be afraid to get down and get dirty with the kids. They love that because again, you don't look intimidating. That's one thing for me. Again, like I said, Tiffany will tell you there's pictures of me literally laying on the floor, drawing and helping students. They want that. They want that engagement. They want that connection with you. They want it with somebody. So why not you?
One thing I want to say, and you guys feel free to unmute. This is just friends in a room here. There's nothing formal about it. So unmute and ask any questions you want. But I did want to say, I posted a link in chat. Summer keeps a binder of all activities, all events. And listen, that binder is famous between those of us at state level. So I will say that if you do have questions about or you're trying to get through I Can Problem Solve or skill streaming or life skills and you need some ideas for activities, Summer loves to share things, but that binder is thick. So be specific about what age group you're working with and what you'd like your outcomes to be.
I was just going to reiterate something that Summer had said, and I haven't done groups with kids for a long time, but one thing I remember very clearly is that they are far more likely to participate and risk looking silly if you will risk looking silly right alongside of them. That's one thing that I noticed. I'd have wallflowers, the ones like, no, I don't want to do it, or I don't want to play, or I don't want to do whatever. But then if they see you jump in and start doing the exact same thing, failing and looking ridiculous, then they start laughing and then they jump in and participate.
Oh yeah, I find that especially with charades, the kids are like, well, I don't want to do it. If they go up there, I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it for you. Want me to do it for you? Especially like the little kids. They're like, yeah, can you? I'm like, sure, not a problem. And they'll show it to me and I'm like, and I'll ask them, how do you think I should do it? And they'll whisper it to me up and we'll whisper back and forth. And again, I'm building that rapport with that kid. I'm being part of that kid's safe space. And then I'm doing what they asked me to do, being silly. And again, I am not afraid to be silly by no means or anything like that. And so we're working with kids, we're not. And so, and again, to me, it's not handing them a worksheet or just reading to them. They learn so much by you interacting with them. They learn so much by the different projects and different things that we do. I had a kid that she wasn't in my group, and actually I made her one of my calming jars and just different things like that because she's one of my drop-in kids and stuff like that. She was in a group that I had 2 years ago, and now she's in the middle school, and she still comes and sees me and talks to me and everything like that. And she'll say different things to me. And so, like, long story short, with her, an event occurred at home. She's now placed with her aunt. And, she was going back, to go to a visit with her mom. And she was feeling kind of, on edge. And I made her a calming jar. And she took that with her on her visit. And that meant a lot to me that she felt comfortable enough to come to me. And again, that was from a connection that I made 2 years ago with her. So those are the things to me that we're looking for. And I've said this numerous times, this is more than just checking off a box to me. You know, I want these kids to get something from it. I want them to, we listen and we don't interrupt, even if it's something as little as that, for them to remember, to think back and say, I remember Miss Summer taught me this. And I had a kid at one of the after school events. He was like, Miss Summer, do you remember when we were talking about feelings and I told you how sometimes I get anxious and we made dragon breaths. And I was like, yeah. He was like, I still have mine. And that, to me, that means a lot. Even if it's just one kid, again, to me, those things mean a lot to me. So that's why I try to incorporate the activities to reach those kids that we need to reach.
Does everybody here work in elementary, or do you also work in middle and high school? Summer has like K through 12. So it's pretty much all ages. But how
Yeah, I
about
got
you?
them all.
I'm just at elementary.
Elementary? And
Yeah, that
Gina,
was yeah, that was my question, was what age you do these groups with. Ours are pre-K through 5th.
Yeah, with a lot of the activities that I do, I'm gonna be honest with you, even some of my upper middle school, high school kids, they love the arts and crafts too. They love that stuff. But like a lot of them, I have a lot for, you know, the K through, you know, for the elementary school. We did one where we were talking about sharing and teamwork, and I was at Dollar Tree or Dollar General, and they had these little mosaic pieces, things or whatever, arts and crafts things. They were like 10 cents. I bought a bunch of them for my one class to help teach them about working together, about teamwork. They both had to pick which one that they were going to do, and then they had to work together. One person told the directions, the other person put the pieces on based off of what that person, you know, told them to. Again, they had to work together. I've done Legos with team building to where they've worked together. They had to pick which one, because I love Legos, don't judge me. I have a lot of them. They're my own personal ones. So I had stuff like that. We did one about like listening to each other. There was one activity we did where it was, they had the rubber bands and the cup, and they had to work together with the rubber band, the cup, and the string and all that. They had to talk to each other and, you know, work together to get it to lift the cup up to stack the cups. And that was, you know, again, that was how we're listening and working together.
What other questions do we have? It sounds like Gina might want to take a look at your pre-K through 5 book. Just saying.
Well, just if you let me know like which activity or like if, because again, that's what I do a lot of and stuff like that, is skill streaming and like which section you're utilizing. Like I said, for classroom skills, there was just different things and stuff like that that I did. Or like following directions. And it depends on your kids too. You know what your kids like. I loved the fact that like with understanding your feelings, making them draw a comic book, having them do comic books. They loved it. I tell them, I said, I'm not the best person to draw. I can barely draw a stick figure, but the kids, you know, they loved it. They were like, oh my gosh, I'm Bruce Banner. You know, again, how do you get to that? And also for me, I have boys, I have sons. And so I love the Avengers and stuff like that. So it was, you know, that was easy for me. But again, also to being vulnerable, you know, with kids, you know, and again, being your authentic self and just letting them know you're human too. You know, sometimes Miss Summer gets mad. Sometimes Miss Summer makes a mistake and I get mad at myself. But let me do some positive self-talk. What can I say? You know, painting is a big thing with kids too, especially like with the I am for their self-esteem. That's one of the things that we did. We did I am in the middle. And then again, like positive things. And it was so hard for them to think of something positive of themselves. So going around the room, well, tell me something good about your neighbor. And then you identifying something good about them too. So that way they can hear that and they can write it and they can draw what that means to them. And then they take that home and they have that visual reminder. So things like that is things that I like to do. So if you tell me like whatever section you're doing and you need help, and again, like I am big on Facebook, like looking at following different platforms that share different arts and crafts. I can't remember any of them offhand. They'll just pop up on my newsfeed and I'll follow. And I'll automatically send it to my husband via Messenger. He has nothing but like a lot of different crafts that I've seen. And I'll send that to him. There was one where we did following directions where the school, they were focusing on going outside and during nature during the last couple times for summer school. So I was like, okay. So what I did, I made them a little what to find, work in a team. And you try to find this and do a check mark for it. And they did their little check marks for it and stuff like that. But again, that was teaching them to work together. They're looking for things. And again, teaching them that teamwork.
It's been a while for us, but we've seen a lot of creativity across the state. And we had a middle school team that they were working on bullying prevention and intervention, and because it was a big concern in their school. And they did, their students developed board games. They made their own cornhole game out of duct tape, paper wads, and trash cans. Listen, those kids were super creative, but they taught the lesson and taught people how to play the games. They did board games mostly. So they had like 5 or 6 board games they created throughout the year, and they would teach other people how to play them. So they kind of became student leaders rather than the ones always in the office for getting in trouble. So that was kind of neat. Do we have any other questions? We're going to close up soon, and I just want to make sure we don't leave anybody out for questions or comments. All right. Well, Summer, we want to thank you for presenting today. We are recording this, so we will try to get it edited and up. But we thank you all for joining, and we have our next Creativity Corner is coming up on, it's always the 4th Wednesday of the month, and it will be Hey Ugly. It's a summer program that's presented by Youth Services System. And they're going to talk about their summer programming and how they got such buy-in that they now have a wait list for their summer program. So that will be an interesting one. That'll be June 24th at 1:00. We'll post the link in chat if you want to register for that. Otherwise, thank everybody for being here, and we hope you have a wonderful end of your school year.